Kneel down, you sinners, to streetwise religion. Creed's been crowned a new king. Hollywood dream teams, yesterday's trash queens. Save the blessings for the final ring. Amen! Take a ride in the wild.
Welcome to Poison Rock. We are here with Sean Killian from VIO-LENCE. Hi, Sean. Thanks for being here. First of all, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Ada. Thank you for having me. This is
It's a really pleasure,
fun.
finally. So let's start with the first question, straight to it. 2 years ago, VIO-LENCE celebrated 13 years of your debut album, Eternal Nightmare. What are your best memories from that event?
Oh, I would just say that my best memories from there was driving my piece of crap Vega to and from the studio in San Francisco to get there to record. And the last day I recorded vocals, the thing broke down. I just left it on the side of the highway and got a friend to pick me up and take me to the studio. But it was an interesting time because, we were just young,
Yeah,
college, putting out our
different.
music. And it was fun. It was a good time.
And what makes VIO-LENCE different from the rest of the other Bay Area bands?
Well, I think it's our attitude. When you call your band Violence, you kind of got to bring it. And so we were always kind of wanting to be the fastest, the heaviest, the more intense band out of all of them that that was always our goal. Is that
You know,
we didn't
you
want any
achieve
melodic
it.
parts. Yeah, we didn't want any melodic parts. We wanted the biggest pits. We wanted the most crazy fans, the most stage diving we could get. So that's always been kind of our attitude, and it still is.
That's great. And how do you come up to the concept idea of the artwork for Eternal Nightmare?
I just was kind of talking to our management at the time, Debbie Abono, just kind of in the label, just kind of explaining, well, it's like a nightmare. You know how you fall, you have a nightmare and you fall, and then you wake up right before you land on the ground, and then they just kind of threw that to Ed Repka, and he came up
Yeah,
with the artwork. The artwork that you see was totally put together by him.
that's
So it wasn't
nice.
like we gave him any feedback other than the guy falling, because you get
Yes,
that nightmares and you
for
wake up
sure.
right before you hit the ground.
Not a good nightmare. I mean, dreams. We can say it's a
Yeah,
really nightmare.
but he did a great job with the artwork, and people. I mean, every time we play somewhere, there's someone has it tattooed on them, on their
Yeah, I
arm or on their
noticed.
leg.
I
Yeah,
noticed between my friends. I noticed. Oppressing the Masses came out in the moment where thrash metal was losing, we can say, fame in 90s. What could you say about it?
uh, so we were right after. Man, I think right after we got back from recording Eternal Nightmare, we started working on Oppressing the Masses. So we were still in our, young stage, but we knew that we wanted to do something different than Eternal Nightmare. Um, and Eternal Nightmare was all written by Phil and I, except for Calling in the Corner. That was Rob Flynn's music and my lyrics. But Oppressing was more of a group effort. So we
Yes.
were all contributing. Rob, Phil, and I contributing to the writing, and so I think that's why it's got a little bit different sound. And working with Alex Perry-Alice was great too. And we were away from home, so we were in Ithaca, New York,
New
upstate New
York,
York, out of control, and
far from the Bay Area.
so far from the Bay Area, yeah, in the freezing snow
And this is sort of like as involved the cold, the freezing in the writing of the album.
Yeah, so when we got there, Alex came out to visit us in the Bay Area at our practice studio, our rehearsal studio. So he got a taste of it, and it was funny because he says after we played some songs, I heard rumors that you guys were slowing down, but I don't think that I hear that. Well, we're not really. I mean, this is who we are. So yeah.
Yes, for sure. And what are your thoughts in having had torture tactics censored back in the day?
So torture tactics. We wrote that. Yeah, I want to say it was. I want to say it was supposed to be on Eternal Nightmare too, but it didn't make it on there. And so then we for sure thought going to Metal Blade Records, we would get torture tactics on Oppressing the Masses, and about a month before it came out, it got scratched from the record. Atlantic Records did that. Megaforce, they were our label, but the distribution was Atlantic, so they said no, it was no. And they at least Megaforce helped us get it out on another label. They used another distributor, smaller distributor, to get it out. But it's a hardcore song. I wrote those lyrics. I was watching a documentary on torture, and they were interviewing guys from Eastern Bloc countries that were torturers, and it was kind of like it just seemed kind of trippy because it was so sterile, like just a job for them that they get their lunch back in the morning, go off to work, and then come back, do that all day and come home.
Seems like The Experiment, the movie.
Yeah, so it's like you can't really write about some torture tactics unless it's really graphic, and that's the part that kind of struck a nerve with Atlantic Records. So
yeah, it's a huge, a huge message, a strong message. These lyrics.
Yes, it's a very strong message. Yeah.
Yes, and it's important because in music, many bands should send a strong message like that.
Yeah,
I think you did a great job.
You can't compromise. You can't compromise. That's my attitude. It's like you can't compromise when it comes to lyrics.
Speaking about the message to send to the people, what message do you want to send with the music video World in a World?
So World in a World, I remember coming up with that concept. I was driving by San Quentin Prison. So you go over the Vallejo Bridge, and you can see the prison off to the left.
Yeah.
And it just kind of hangs out there. And I was thinking, it just came to my mind that it's like its own little world in a world. And so that was just kind of like where I started. And, I didn't really have, that's the thing is I don't really try to send a message with songs as much as I just try to depict the subject,
Yeah.
So when you read it, you're like, your mind's eye can create a picture.
Yeah, like a painting, basically.
Yeah. So
yeah, like a painting, what you saw in that moment.
Yeah. So when you read my lyrics, that's kind of what I'm shooting for, is for you to put an image in your mind.
Of course. And what about Nothing to Gain? Your thought about it?
So Nothing to Gain, there was a lot of that grunge was going around big time. So thrash metal was losing its edge, and the labels were looking at all the thrash metal bands going, well, you need to do something different. We need this, because in the end, they're businesses and they're out to make money. So when you're a musician that doesn't play that kind of music, then you get a lot of pressure, and you're like, well, as a band, a group of guys, geez, I think I might have been 25 at the time, 26, and you're being confronted with this. You're either going to do this or you're not going to have a label, basically how it comes down to it. Now, there's good songs on that album I like. The production, we probably should have went with Alex Perry-Ellis on that, because he was good at getting stuff out of us as individuals. And so it was kind of a tense time where we wanted to be who we were, but we knew that if we were, then we wouldn't have a label. And so Nothing to Gain came out. There's good lyrics on it. There's good stuff on it. It's just that it needs to have a little bit heavier edge when we recorded it, and the mix is kind of not so great. So some of it you lose because of the mix.
And can you explain to us and your fans about the issue VIO-LENCE has with the Atlantic Records?
So Atlantic holds when we did Oppressing the Masses, we sold the publishing rights. And then, so Atlantic has the publishing rights. I think that is a 35-year term. And we were able to purchase Eternal Nightmare back from the individual that bought Mechanics Records catalog. So he came to Phil and said, "Hey, you know, you want to buy back your recording? You can." So we got together. I think they charged us $2,000. So the five of us got together, threw in $400 and bought it. And that's why you can buy Eternal Nightmare on, you know, from Megaforce Records. But
Yes.
Atlantic will not release. They matter of fact, they just stopped answering Phil's calls altogether because he was calling trying to get it done, but they weren't having any part of it, and they still aren't. So.
And there is a record that do you want to re-record of VIO-LENCE demo?
That '93 demo. So that was
Yes, some demo that you maybe want to re-record again. Nowadays.
I would like to, but they wound up on the Torque album when I left the band, and Phil and the guys made Torque the band, and so they used those 3 songs on the record. So I'd like to re-record them, but Phil doesn't want to. So he wrote the music, I wrote the lyrics. So it's kind of you can't have one without the other.
And which is the artist you choose for painting the artwork of your coming album EP?
We haven't chose yet. We're working on releasing. We did a cover song that's going to come out on the 20th of this month. It's a band from the Bay Area that we covered one of their songs, a punk band, and we did a video for it. And so Metal Blade Records is going to get it out on Spotify and iTunes, and they'll put it out on YouTube as well. But that's coming on August 20th.
And I mean, how do you feel having such a huge musician as Bobby Gustafsson in VIO-LENCE?
Yeah.
What he brings? It brings something different in the composition of the sound of the music. Changes something between the past.
Well, I don't know, because most of what we're writing is just Phil and I right now. And Perry, it's just Phil, Perry, and I in the rehearsal studio, and we've been writing. We've got 3 songs now that we were able to demo a couple of weeks ago, so we can sit down and listen to it, make adjustments to it. And then Bobby, you know, he's just a solid guitar player, and the guy fits in really well with us. But yeah, he'll be contributing in the future. But on this 5-song EP, it's something that Phil and we wanted to do. We've been talking about it since like the middle of last year, long before we got Bobby in the band. So it's something that we wanted to get out. And then when we do a record afterward, then yeah, we'll definitely be having Bobby contribute. But you know, as far as playing live, he's just a great guitar player, and he's a great musician, great presence on stage, and we kind of needed that, you know, to make those little bit.
Yes, and if we want, for example, made an excursus from the beginning of VIO-LENCE until today, how do you will describe these evolution from the band, from the beginning until now, in few words?
In the beginning was the 5 original guys that, you know, there was violence before I joined the band, you know. But the 5 original guys on, you know, Eternal Nightmare were young dudes trying to put out some music. Rob decided he wanted to do Machine Head, which was a great move for Rob. Then you had some other good musicians that joined the band. Mark Hernandez played drums when Perry decided he didn't want to be a musician anymore. And then Ray Vegas filled in from Attitude Adjustment. And then it got to a point where I was just like kind of just not happy with the whole music industry at the time. So I kind of stepped away. And then, you know, Phil went on to do Torque and stuff and Machine Head. And then now it's like we got back, we played some shows last year. It's kind of difficult for like Dean, for instance. We'd love to have him with us, but he just can't. He doesn't have the time to do it. So then now you have, you know, Perry and Phil and I, and it's like, well, Bobby and Perry have been friends for a long time, so Bobby fits right in, and he's a great guy. And then when Dean decided he couldn't continue on, then Phil knew Christian. He's known him for a long time, so he called Christian saying, "Hey, you want to drive up from Venice and play some bass. So he was always been a big Violence fan, even when he lived in Antwerp, you know, long before Fear Factory. So yeah,
Yes.
today's band is we're really tight, and I think you know, we
It's
were
an
hoping
amazing
to
thing.
play. Yeah, we were supposed to all five be on stage in Chicago. Of
So
course,
this
that
is
got.
the next you're answering to the next questions. That would be the future plans.
So right now we have some shows scheduled in March. Some
Okay.
rescheduled shows. So North
Yes.
Carolina, Chicago, and possibly Portland. Depends on what
Okay.
happens there. If it gets its act together.
Finger crossed.
Yeah. And then April we're going to play at the Metro in Oakland, our home show.
Okay. Okay.
And then we've got other things in the works. You know, we'll be at Bloodstock next year. And we're trying to get on some other festivals and stuff, but you know, everything we were going to do this year, we had to postpone to next year. So
Yeah, I think it's working like this for almost maybe for all the bands right now, for
yeah,
any musician. It's a little bit sucks, but there's nothing we can do about it.
no, not now. I mean, you know, we're working with a booking agent over in Europe and
Hmm.
trying to get on some more festivals. You know, do some more
Yes,
stuff because our EP will be out before we play live again.
yeah.
And we might hold on to it until we can
Hmm.
play live. You know, just a strategic move. Not, you know,
Okay,
if you're gonna put
so
something out, you want to go out and support it, right? You want people to
for
show up and go, "Yeah, I want to see it played live." Can
For
you pull
sure.
it off?
I think next summer, next year will be like all the people running to the festival and to the concert like never was seen before because
Oh,
this year all was in streaming, was already pre-recorded. So I think next year will be a really good year for music.
I
I
think
hope.
so. Well, for music fans, you know, because
Yes.
there's going to be so much traffic of bands touring that you might get some bands joining together, you know, instead of
That would
competing
be
against each
amazing.
other, pulling their tours together to make a big tour.
Yes.
And I think the
Yes.
fans are going to be the ones that benefit in the long run.
For sure, and also one thing that I all the time say to the fans and people who follow us is to support the bands buying the merchandising, the
Hmm.
EP, the records, because if we didn't help each other, we don't help each other in this period, the music doesn't work
Yeah.
because it's a hard time right now for music and for anyone else, of course. But speaking about music and influences, something happier, as you, as Sean Killian. 5 songs, albums, artists, it's up to you. That influenced your way of composing, that influenced your life, yourself.
I would have to say City Baby, Attacked by Rats,
Right.
GBH, Fear the Record, Fear More Beer. Those were those were three big records I listened to constantly back during the Eternal Nightmare days.
Yeah.
I was really into Celtic Frost. I listened to them a lot,
You
and
felt
early, you know, Show No Mercy, Hell Awaits. Right,
okay.
that part,
And
that Slayer. For me, that
that
Slayer was Slayer because that's who I knew them from. I would go to Ruthie's Inn and I would see Slayer and I'd see Megadeth and Suicidal and at that great place.
yeah, for sure. And if you have you, for example, you are an organizer, and you want to organize a festival, for example, which band, that living band, not living anymore band, which one you will bring into the stage with you, with Violence for sure.
With Violence, it would
Yeah,
be. So I don't know where Violence would wind up on this bill, but it would probably be Behemoth, Creator,
amazing.
Destruction,
Symphonical, the thrash metal.
yeah, Violence. Um, you know, of course, any of the Bay Area bands, but for me personally, this is who I would want to definitely be on with. And then maybe throw Come to Christ on there, a little bit of a mix. Of course, Violence would have to be on it, and
Of course, the headliner for us.
and I'd have to have GBH on it, and I know Fear's still playing. They because my kid went to see him last year, but if I could put Fear on the bill too, that'd be great.
Yeah. So we are practically we are finished. So last thing that I ask you is a message for your fan and for our followers of
Hmm.
Poison Rock, and that's it.
And what's it called?
Poison Rock.
Poisoned Rock?
Yeah. Because we
Okay.
are poisoned by rock,
Okay.
like Alice
Excellent.
Cooper.
So for the Violence fans and all metal fans out there, we're working hard on some new music. It's going to be very heavy. We're holding no punches. We have the full support of Metal Blade Records behind us, and we're going to be out trying to do as many shows as we can next year to go out and perform for the fans worldwide. And for the poisoned metal fans, you'll be drinking the poison when we come to town. That's for sure.
Thank you so much, Sean. It was really a pleasure, and I hope to see VIO-LENCE next year. And maybe we will join you with some tour that we are planning with an American musician.
That would
Maybe
be
you know
great.
her, Leather Leone from Chastain.
From what?
Chastain. She's from San Francisco too, in the 80s.
Oh, she is. I'll have to look her up.
She's an amazing singer.
Okay.
We are planning a tour with her, so maybe we can catch up around the Europe in some
Yeah, that'd be
festivals.
great. That'd be
Okay.
awesome.
Okay, so thank you and see you soon then.
Thank
Bye.
you, Aiden.
Bye, Sean.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna dead, but the rulers are bad. Rising up the people, hell, I'm waiting for you. No one will come to a trail. Good, good. Shakers are screaming, and the cannons weaving. Sitting with it, killing off a reason alone. Look at this action abound. Bullet, bullet.
Take a ride on the wild side. I carry my crucifix under my death list.